Hello and welcome to an extra special bonus Musicals with Cheese episode. I am joined by Andrew DeWolf, Brianna Jones, and our keeper of the cheese, Juliet Antonio. And Juliet watches and listens to every Musicals with Cheese event thing that we do and keeps track of all of our cheese ratings, which means this person is the only one qualified enough to tell us what is our best episodes of 2022. All right, Juliet, introduce yourself and what have we got?
Hi, everybody. So most of you heard my name in the credits, but if you haven't seen me or heard my voice before, hi, I'm Juliet. I'm the keeper of the cheese. I basically got this job after Jess jokingly said, what if someone made a spreadsheet with all our ratings? And I said, bet, hold my beer. And then I sent it off to him, and I've been doing this ever since. I've been listening to the show since episode 0 when Andrew and Jess reviewed the Tonys.
Oh my God.
Now we are here at episode over 200 and something. I don't have the spreadsheet up right now, so sorry. So we did a year in review last year. Jess asked me if I could do another one, and I came up with a list of the top 10 episodes since the last episode we covered, which was the last episode where we left off was the one before Little Match Girl, I believe. So it's all the episodes since Little Match Girl on. So we've got the top 10 for those, and we've got the top cheese ratings for this year as well, because I'm the keeper of the cheese and it's my brand. So guys, just out of curiosity, do you have any predictions? Because I believe that question was asked last time.
Yes, Andrew, why don't you go first? What do you think is one of our best of the year?
Oh, geez. Of this year, I have no fucking clue.
Dear Evan Hansen.
We didn't do that this year.
We did it.
I put that. Oh, that was last year. I had that last year for number 3 or 4.
Oh my God, it's been
feel
that
like
long.
I
Did
know.
we have any big event episodes this time?
We had Encanto, which was like our starting one. We had a lot of hard work episodes, like our Rankin Bass
think our
ones.
Encanto episodes was that good, honestly. But everyone liked it, I guess.
It was our most downloaded episode of the year, so
maybe our most downloaded. Maybe everyone hated it though. Maybe we like locked those people out.
We saw Dear Evan Hansen in 2021.
Yeah.
I thought 2022 was a shit year because I saw Dear Evan Hansen this year.
I think that our Rankin Bass episodes were very good.
Oh, definitely.
I agree.
Those are very well done.
Those were a lot of work, and we have a little while before we do anything quite that taxing again. But I don't know. When I think about episodes we've done this year, like the one that I really look back the most fondly on is our Mrs. Doubtfire episode. And I don't have a good reason why. I just think that you and I had very funny jokes in that one. We talked about it just the right amount, and we hit it right before it hit all that Broadway controversy where they shut down for a while. I also think our Funny Girl episode is a contender. I feel like that. And our Bridgerton episode. Now that I'm actually thinking about it, there's a lot of good episodes this year.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
A good one, yeah.
I'm ready to hear it. Let's
Juliet. Bree, do you have an actual guess? I'm sorry. I just realized I got Andrew and didn't get one from you because you said Dear Evan Hansen.
I think Home on the Range is a contender.
That one was good, I think.
That one was very good. I'm just kind of looking back. I forget what we do.
Yeah. This was the most Groundhog Day style
to think
year.
Back and remember within a year is hard.
Yeah.
All right.
Funny Girl is definitely in there. I'm sorry.
Let's not spoil it.
Okay. I won't.
All right. Juliet, what we got?
All right, so starting off the list at number 10, we have episode 217, Ride the Cyclone.
Oh,
okay.
So, not a TikTok musical, but a musical famous through TikTok, as opposed to when you guys did Bridgerton and Ratatouille. So what I really appreciate about you guys in the show is how you don't automatically give musicals that are popular with Gen Z the shaft because they're for the youths. You go into it unbiased and critique it, unlike some quote-unquote critics. And I think what set this episode apart was just this really bonkers premise about kids dying on a roller coaster and them having to appease this fortune teller theme park god with their lives so as to figure out who gets a second chance. And Canadian theater is really a blind spot for me, but this was really cool to learn about. And it just goes to show what can be done when money is thrown at art, as evidenced by some of the aerial tricks that just described, seeing some of the performers in midair. And the roller coaster stories at the end that you guys shared were hilarious. And the plans to go to a theme park together were really great. Also, side note, if anyone else out there liked this episode, I'm going to recommend a book called Action Park, written by the son of the park owner, which is about the most infamous theme park in New Jersey where everything broke and everyone got hurt. So go read that.
I love how you have this very detailed analysis and for an episode that literally began with Bree telling a story about a stripper having her asshole flung
Oh
into.
no! That was the episode?
Yes,
What a
it's
great
one of the.
episode.
Oops.
And
I mean,
it-
that's a good episode, right?
we have a flashback in the middle of an episode that has never happened before. It is one of our strangest episodes, and I'm so glad it made the list. Sincerely.
Hey, we gotta have the occasional
wondering
oddball
what-
on here.
What's gonna top that?
Oh, we're gonna have to see.
There's a chain of progression here. I always pick the weird ones. You guys know that. I remember last year for the number 10 spot, it was Jekyll and Hyde, and Jess just went, really? And I was like, there's a reason. Hold on.
I don't
Okay.
remember anything about that episode. I'll have to. God, one day I'll have to listen to Jekyll and Hyde now.
The retelling of Murder is hilarious. Anyway, okay. So for number 9, we have episode 199, Winnie the Pooh featuring Grace Aki.
Oh.
So we're finally getting Grace Aki on here, this time with her entry into the Five Timers Club, which was well deserved. I feel like this episode had equal parts fun and unhingedness. Fun because everybody got to relive their childhood memories of favorite Winnie the Pooh songs, characters, and movies, what character they were most like. And unhinged because of comments like hashtag Twink Eeyore. But I always love it when you guys cover a musical for kids that either isn't a Disney property or isn't a well-known Disney property. And with Winnie the Pooh, it didn't feel like Disney's other Broadway cash cows. It felt like a show with heart. And everyone's inner child really came forth for a really heartwarming ride in the nostalgia train.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. That episode's great. But once again, I'm going to talk about the editing thing, the cheeky underwear conversation, which is just me joking around at the start of that episode. And then Bree's like, where am I going to put this? You guys reference it too much for us to not cut it. So I'm like, just put it at the end. Just put it at the end as its own conversation.
There you go. And that was a cute little aside. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good conversation. Yeah.
I love that episode for all the reasons you do as well. And it was weird when we went to New York that they're just shoving those paperworks at Broadway Con at people to go see the Winnie the Pooh off-Broadway show. They were dressed up as Winnie the Pooh, and I was like, hey, I did promotion for you guys. I should get some free tickets.
Yeah, get some free tickets. Grace could probably hook you up with that too somehow.
Yeah, she could.
Yeah. All right. Number 8. We have episode 177, High Society, featuring Robbie Roselle.
Oh, this
Really?
is a good one.
I saw Jess's
Very
face.
fun.
High
So-
Society. I remember we did not like this one, I don't think.
No.
No. So, episodes about mediocre musicals can be entertaining, especially with the right guest. And Robbie was a hoot and a half on this one. And what we got to learn on this episode was sometimes how a musical project aimed at a star vehicle. I forget what the lady's name was, but she wanted to do The Sound of Music, and then Rebecca Luker got it because this lady was like, no, I changed my mind. I want to do my own thing, and I want to do High Society. It shows how these projects can go off the rails when said stars change their mind about what they want to do. And we also learned how so-so shows can inspire bouts of creativity elsewhere. There's Anna Kendrick's performance for the Broadway Leading Ladies concert, and Robbie's setlist for his cabaret, which we hear a little bit of in the episode from his album. And this brings us some comfort for people who make art in that musicals which are forgotten don't entirely go to waste and can be used for more than audition cuts. And plus, we also had some great tangents with Robbie, since when a musical's so boring, there's really only so much you can beat a dead horse. And we were also introduced to an awfully designed poster from the 90s with the cats in a sailboat that
Why
now
are
lives
they
in my
cats?
nightmares rent-free. I don't know. I really don't know.
There's no
Maybe
reason for them to be
because,
cats.
Maybe it's because I don't even remember her. Tracy, or Grace Kelly. She has to make her own jellicle choice of which man she's choosing. I don't know. Cats was on Broadway. I'm trying to think of some logic here, but there probably is none.
They didn't need to be cats.
No, they
Nope.
do not.
Great choice. Great episode. We got to have Robbie
Thank
on
you.
again. This is just reminding me of people I need to email to have back
Oh
on.
yeah, please have Robbie on. He was so much fun and he was a delight. And that episode of you guys discussing Broadway conspiracy theories is a really fun little side quest episode too.
Yeah, that was during the wandering years for Andrew, where he had to leave for a couple weeks. I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
that. That was
Mm,
a bit of a rush to put together, and Robbie stepped up to the plate there. I
yeah.
am very grateful to Robbie Roselle. Yeah, that episode was good, but now I'm
Mhm.
also angry at it because it taught me that Mandy Patinkin fucks up. She has her in the Secret
The
Garden.
Secret Garden? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, if you what was it? He forgot a word or
no,
something?
he came in too early.
Oh, oops.
And I left it in the album, and now I can't unhear it. Thanks, Robbie.
Hey, if it can happen to Mandy, it can happen to anyone.
Mhm.
All
All right,
right.
what's the next one?
All right, number 7 on the list. We have episode 200, The Sound of Music.
That was a
You
good
guys finally did it. The Rogers and Hammerstein behemoth that Christopher Plummer infamously called S&M. All right, so I understand why you guys space out the classic musicals, but this was the first one we had in a long time, and I was so excited when we got this notification. And here we get to compare and contrast the musical in its 3 versions, which isn't something that gets done a lot. The original stage show, which I enjoy, frankly, the movie, which, just correct, that is the best version, and the live TV adaptation, which I have mixed feelings on, like most people. It's a rare example of the movie being better than the original source material, and getting to hear unhinged letterbox reviews about an iconic piece of theater that's lasted through so many people's childhoods was hilarious. I will say, the only part that made me raise my eyebrows and go, was Jess's opinion on Baroness Schrader. Because when I hear her, I think of how she's portrayed in the stage musical, and I was like, I don't have much sympathy for someone who basically said, the Nazis don't bother me that much. But I digress. Good episode.
No, I get what you mean, but I think what I mean
Yeah.
is in the traditional sense of narrative girlfriends. She's not the stepmom from The Parent Trap, the way
Oh,
that she
okay.
kind of
Okay.
is in the movie.
Gotcha. All
She's
right.
just kind of normal evil instead of like movie evil.
Okay. I can get that now. All
It's
right.
more
The
subtle.
banality of evil.
Yeah. Yes.
No, that's a good one. I love that one. When those landmark episodes hit, I'm glad that they hit well with people that listen to the show sincerely. I'm always worried, like,
Oh, yeah.
is this gonna be 200 episode worthy?
I feel like that one is, though. That one
Okay.
really is. You guys picked a good choice. Now, number 6 on the list, we have episode 207, The Pirates of Penzance. So as Musicals with Cheese transitioned into its brief opera era, because I think after this was Magic Flute and then kind of went away from opera for a while, the
Then we did
podcast covered its
Mozart.
first, yes, Mozart La Baroque. This podcast covered its first Gilbert and Sullivan with The Pirates of Penzance. And I was happy to see this because Gilbert and Sullivan have soft spots in my heart with some of their pieces, but I'll be honest, it's not an era of musical theater I know too much about. And I was very impressed that you managed to find a review of Pirates from that era when it debuted. And another episode that shows how not all early musical theater ages poorly and how it shows that thirst is eternal with Kevin Kline in particular. And it also points out how we don't always need to have modern references mixed into a show, like with Pirate King Jack Sparrow, which why, Anthony Warlow, why?
Choices were made. Man, I'm glad you like that
Yes.
episode. I'm so
Oh, I
glad you like that
loved
We
that
gotta
episode.
do we gotta do more opera.
Oh God,
Mm.
maybe we should do a proper episode on La Boheme because we kind of did one in our first run
No.
episode. Maybe that would be a good one for 2023.
I feel like our first like 3 episodes we could just fully redo.
Oh, I'm like we were already redid
Mhm.
Rent.
Yeah, that was a
But
good
we
redo
could
with Kelly.
redo the part of the Rent first episode where we
did La Boheme.
cover La Boheme. We could redo that
Mm.
too.
Yeah, La Boheme's
You
good.
could you could definitely find a pro shot of it somewhere. Maybe even do bootlegs of the Boz Lerman one exist?
That's not bootleg. There was a pro shot of that. It's just very hard to
Oh,
get
really?
nowadays.
Okay, gotcha.
Jess has it.
Alrighties.
I'm
Very
trying
hard
to
to
be
get.
less open with how many of those I have.
What do you
That's-
know? We're
Yes, sir.
talking about a different kind of pirates as we discuss Pirates of Penzance.
No one ever drew Andrew as a pirate. I'm a little upset. We put a call to action out
know!
there. No one did it.
Eye patch.
Hey, if you guys want to draw
This
Jess and
way.
Andrew and Bree as pirates, this is your sign to do it now because it wasn't done before. So go do it now.
Yeah, we're gonna cry now.
Oh, cry your salty tears into the salty sea. Now, number 5. Bree, you're correct. Episode 218, Home on the Range. Made it onto the list.
Yeah.
When
Alrighty.
I your little
Now, I remember before you guys officially covered this movie, Andrew would mention Home on the Range, and Jess was consistently trying to shut Andrew up, or at least put him off from talking about this movie,
This
considering
is an
that the
Andrew episode.
the director follows Jess on Twitter. And I kept wondering, why is he not letting him talk? Is this movie really awful and Jess doesn't want the director to hear the comments? Then the actual episode came out, and we learned that it is a solid, not bad. We got to learn about the movie development process, and I feel like this really gets swept under the rug because it's part of Disney's, I think you could safe to say it's its second dark age. But I feel like some of the music is pretty good, which isn't surprising considering they got Alan Menken, no brainer, and they got Katie Lang to perform, for God's sake. I mean, Katie Lang should be more famous than she is, but that's for another podcast. And the idea of Andrew and Jess dressing up as Alameda Slim and his nephews for Halloween is hilarious, and it needs to happen one year. Also, I don't really...
We have the look.
Yeah, you do. And as an aside, I never put bonus episodes on this list. I don't put the live streams or the Patreons or the Patreon exclusive series. But the bonus interview with the director was really well done and shows how many movies are a labor of love regardless of if they succeed or fail. And he was a pretty chill guest. I was really surprised, but pleasantly so.
You got to talk shit with about Doug Walker. Like, I set it up and he knocked those pins down. I appreciated that.
Strike. Also, I'm just so sad that short that he mentioned with Alameda Slim's nephews doesn't exist. That would have been fun.
I almost want his sequel pitch to exist.
What was the sequel pitch again?
I forget. I just remember liking it and being like, oh, that sounds like fun.
Doesn't
have to go back
he,
to the
Alameda
listen.
Slim like gets all of the animals he can yodel to, and he gets out of jail or something.
Well, he wanted to cause the January 6th Capitol riots.
Yes,
ooh,
I remember that
That would've
part.
been
3 days away. Alameda Slim's coming.
Okay.
All right, continue, Julia.
Number 4, episode 214, Over the Garden Wall.
Ooh, all right.
Perfect for Halloween and for spooky month in general. I know some people say this doesn't really count as a movie musical, but I remember there was a local community college on TikTok putting this on for their spring show not too long ago, so I guess this counts. I believe this was the first time you guys covered a musical that was a mini-series, which is interesting to see how the songs are spaced out over the course of each episode, and considering each episode is less than half an hour. And it was cool to learn about how Over the Garden Wall was developed, its inspiration from Dante's Inferno, and original ideas that were scrapped. For example, making episode 9, how that was originally supposed to be the pilot of the show, which I'm glad they didn't go in that direction. And plus, we got a fun little moment of chaos discussing the Star Wars Holiday Special, which, considering how sobering Over the Garden Wall can be, given proper analysis, was a nice little reprieve. And this just goes to show that animation, and we'll say it once and we'll say it again, doesn't necessarily need to be for kids. Looking at you, Academy of Motion Pictures and Sciences.
Looking at you, Bob Chapek. I love this episode. Yeah, like I forgot I did this. Like I was like, we covered Over the Garden Wall. Literally
Yes,
was my
we
first,
did.
because that was during my COVID fog like months.
Oh,
where
my
like
brain, yeah.
I'm just like, I could be doing an episode, but I also could just be going insane. But now I'm so glad this made the list. That makes me so happy. Like I'm always worried about our theme episodes, like when we do like Halloween episodes or Christmas episodes, because if you feel like you're forcing something into a time, then you kind of, it's hard to get the passion up. But I think this one worked.
Oh yeah, and especially because horror musicals are a genre that don't really get explored anymore, and I wish they did. I really wish they did. More horror plays too. It's just a dearth in terms of the theater genre. Okay, not episode number 3. Number 3 in the top 10 spot.
Top 3
is episode 194, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory / Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, featuring Pushing Up Roses.
Okay.
Okay.
I love this one.
Here I thought we had a great episode about what can get lost in translation when adapting a beloved film / book into a stage musical. But not only that, we also get to see what gets lost in translation when a show opens on the West End and transfers to Broadway. And Roses was a great guest. It's fun to hear all of you commiserate about your childhood memories of this movie, and to hear how those memories were ruined by this very imperfect show one even Christian Borle can't save. Not even Jack O'Brien can save. When there's a strong heart connection with the source material, it makes it even sadder when the stage can't do it justice.
Yeah, that's a good episode.
I still love it when they run around an empty room and pretend that they're doing something.
Yeah, no set. Basically no set.
I love when they literally murder the children.
It's funny you should say that. One
I
of my
do
best
love that.
friends, he sent me a TikTok of when the squirrels tear Veruca Salt apart, and he's like, "Did you know about this? This is theater." And I went, "Oh, yes, I did." But I think they were going for the brutalness of Roald Dahl's books with how the bad guys always get their comeuppance in really violent ways. But
Oh
it
yeah,
just
kill
is
them
more
kids.
terrifying. Yeah, kill them kids. Andrew loves, for those who don't know, Andrew loves shows where children are murdered. It's his favorite thing in
Oh,
the
he
whole world.
does. Parade's his favorite musical.
Oh.
Oh
I
no,
didn't.
Julie.
No, I didn't say that.
No. How old was she? She was a teenager when that
13.
happened, right? She was 13. Oh God. Okay.
It's a real bummer. Way to take that turn, Jess. Back onto our list. I agree with this
Whoa.
pick. I think I love that Pushing Up Roses came onto this because this was a Patreon request, and
Mhm.
because of delays, we kept pushing it back, and I felt so bad for that patron. I'm like, it's coming, but I promise you're gonna want to wait for this guest. This guest is
Yes.
worth it,
Very
and
much
she
so.
was in every conceivable way.
Mhm.
And she's now I've had dinner with her. She's great.
Oh, that's
She's a
nice.
good human being. Which is
Aw.
and I got their art right there. Look at it.
Oh wow, that's theirs? That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, bought it
Number
right in front of
2.
her. All right,
Yep.
what we got?
Number 2, episode 176, Titanic the Musical featuring Ayanna Prescott. Having Ayanna on for this episode was an obvious no-brainer. I appreciated how we got to learn some history about the Titanic itself, along with the backstory of how the musical came to be, which I realized was much like the documentary that you watched, Jess, in preparation for this episode. And considering how iconic Ayanna is on theater Twitter, I was really impressed, delighted, and relieved that she gelled with your senses of humor right away. And I always love it when you guys cover Yeston and Copit. And this work of theirs, it really gets overshadowed just due to the success of the James Cameron film and really poor timing. But thanks to this episode and Ayanna's passion, you guys introduced us to a really gorgeous score. And what I also realized is unique about this episode is because Ayanna was writing for Variety at the time, and so it was interesting to have her on for reviews to see her reactions as a critic to the writings of Ben Shapiro Brantley.
Oh my gosh. Sometimes I'm amazed at some of the polls that we get on this show, especially this year. We had a lot of pretty cool people on that yeah. So this one was it felt special in the moment. I agree.
It was fun. It was a good time.
I hope for that Titanic revival soon.
Oh my God. Let Ayanna have a hand in it somehow or I won't trust it. But yeah, hopefully. It's been, God, how many years since it was originally? Like almost 30 now?
Yeah, it's been a long time. It was supposed to get a revival in 2020, but then the Pangea happened and
the Pandemi Lovato, yeah. All right. Now, for the number 1 spot, we have episode 201, Sweet Charity, featuring the band Thanks.
What?
It was so good.
You're trolling.
No, I'm not. I'm really not. As soon as I heard this episode, I'm not even kidding. I'm like, this is going to be my number 1 for the whole year. Even before Jess messaged me about this list, I automatically knew this is my favorite. So, we got to meet Andrew's bandmates, Ben and Grell from the band Thanks. And honestly, I really want them to come back on the podcast more because they were such great guests with great rapport. And it was also an important episode because Jess was right. It's been 200 episodes. We had to show what Andrew learned, and he did a great job of explaining Bob Fosse's legacy. And an episode that went back to the roots of explaining musical theater to some relative newbies, only with Andrew being a bit more seasoned as a musical theater aficionado. And plus, we get to hear some music from the band at the end, which was really, really fun to listen to.
Any notes, Andrew? I think I agree with that. That was what I was expecting to.
I'm just gonna say justice for By Jeeves.
You really wanted By Jeeves to be in there?
I wanted By Jeeves on the list. I remember that. I thought that was last year, but I remember it was this year, and I thought that episode was hilarious.
That was a
Joseph
very fun
Evans
episode.
Green. He's stewing somewhere right now for the fact that this isn't on the list. Sorry, Joseph. I love you, buddy, but
Andrew,
it's my honorable mention.
Juliet was really big on the educational and like emotional attachment ones, and that was us trolling and fucking around for 2 hours, basically trying like hell to talk about anything except By Jeeves. I get why it's not on the list.
But when do they get to the Banjo Factory?
That was an episode where I got legitimately mad because as you guys were trying to explain the story, I was like, there's no way it can be, like, Bertie Wooster is very stupid, but there's no way this show could be, like, the show is stupider than Bertie Wooster is. Like, oh man, just Andrew Lloyd Webber just needs to stop. But that's for another podcast another time. I don't want to bring down the mood. Okay,
Quick
so
question before we move on to cheese ratings. Do you feel that any
yes.
of these episodes from this year has replaced any of the top 10 you did last year for our all-timers? You don't have to
Oh,
like your list, but I was just curious if there was like one that's like, oh yeah, that's taken in that full top 10 place.
God, I don't know. I really that first list was one that, because this was my first time on the podcast, I spent a lot of days curating that and editing that and mulling over that, and it got to a point where I was pretty happy with the results. I mean, looking back, Jekyll and Hyde was like a really strange pick for me to do for my number 10, but every time I read my reasoning why, I'm like, no, in terms of a starter episode, that's pretty good. So yeah, I don't know if I would merge these two lists. I think I'd just keep them as their own separate entities.
Fair enough. We have
Yeah.
not done well enough to top anything we did previously. All right, what's our cheese ratings?
Shut up. Okay. So on to the
We're
cheese
only getting
ratings.
worse,
All
Andrew.
right. So as per usual, we have one for Jess, one for Andrew, one for Bree, and one for the guests overall that we've had on these seasons. Okay. I'll just go from the bottom up. So for the guests, I am going with the best cheese rating from out all of the guests was from Matt in the Nightman Cometh episode, because I thought his cheese rating was specifically apt. It was Cheese Whiz, bad but with a certain charm, which I felt perfectly described that episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia as an Always Sunny fan, and it perfectly describes the Nightman Cometh as a musical. Okay.
That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Forgot we did that.
So, now for these next two cheese ratings, they're shared by two of you, but in different episodes. So,
Oh.
Brie, your best cheese rating is Swiss cheese when you did the Rankin Bass Cinematic Universe for the Little Drummer Boy because of plot holes that were not in the Bible.
True.
That one just
Fair
made me
enough.
laugh when I heard it. And Andrew, your top cheese rating was also Swiss cheese, but it was for the Magic Flute episode when you picked Swiss cheese that has listened to the Magic Flute for 24 hours on loop. The fact that you found that on the internet was amazing. It was perfect. And Jess, your cheese rating is from Notre Dame de Paris when you picked string cheese that is, I don't even know what the notes are, but you were singing torn apart, and then you just went into the whole song. That made me laugh.
Fair enough. Yeah,
Because
those
you
are-
put so much passion into it.
I that song is passionate. If you've heard it, it's like it's all passion rock.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
No, that I don't disagree with any of these. I think Andrew's Swiss cheese that had the magic flute played in it, like that is top tier. I think that's hard to
Mhm.
beat. All right. Is there any other special ones? Are we up for cheese ratings?
No, that is it for the cheese
Cool.
rating portion of this episode.
We do have one last segment, and technically, this is where a lot of folks may hear this, but Bree is leaving our show with not this show this week, but the show next week, which is Dreamgirls, will be Bree's final show. And because of that, Jules, you have compiled a list of your favorite Bree moments over the years.
Yeah, I have.
Oh, stop. This is so sweet.
So, Jess asked me to pick 5.
Okay.
And I went through the spreadsheet, and I remembered a couple episodes where you stood out, and I came up with a short list, short and sweet. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the Discord because Jess asked me to send him a rough copy originally,
Because
just in case
we
I
were going to
couldn't make it
record your
through it.
last episode last week, and
Oh,
things
yeah.
happened.
Yeah. Okay, so number 5, Brie and too much rum. So at the end of Sweet Charity, Bree, you briefly unmuted to comment on a great discussion, only to admit you had too much rum and you were going to put yourself back on mute now. It's okay, Bree. You held your liquor really well.
Thank you. I did
You're
not.
welcome.
I did not remember that episode. I don't think.
Could have fooled
That'll
me.
do it.
No. Let me see. Discord print is very small. Okay, number 4. We have to give a shout out to just Bree views in general. Because of you, Bree, we got a new segment that a lot of people quite enjoyed. And it's always fun to see New York City theater critics get taken down a peg. And you, with your voice, were able to make the highbrow nonsense of Ben Brantley and Jesse Green sound palatable. Your incredulity at their stupidity also made the reviews a lot funnier.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I can barely read them most of the time.
It's fine. It's fine.
Like,
Look,
fun
just
fact, the first half of every episode, I was reading and like searching pronunciations of words so I
Mhm,
didn't
mhm.
sound horrible. So if you're ever wondering what I'm doing, it was that.
It's funny you bring up pronunciation of words because you'll see, it's all gonna be good.
Okay.
All shall be clear. Okay. Jess knows what I'm talking about, I think.
I
All right.
do, because I know I'm not gonna spoil it.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I
Okay.
fucked up, and Andrew agreed with me. Whatever.
All right. Number 3. Childhood trauma? So in one episode, you admitted to not being able to see a certain musical. I was really trying to go back to the episodes and find what it was, but I couldn't find it.
It was Rent.
Because you weren't.
It was Rent.
It was Rent. Yeah, because you weren't allowed to see it as a kid, even though you really wanted to. So hopefully this podcast was able to give you some insight as to what you missed. And if you were able to see it, or if you're planning to go see it, I hope you enjoy it one day, or I hope you did enjoy it if you've already seen it.
Thank you. I have come to the conclusion that I probably won't like it.
Okay. Well, hey, at least you don't have definitive
Thanks, Andrew and Jess.
We spoiled another one.
All right. Number 2, Falling Slowly. So, Brie, we know you're a talented editor, but much to our delight, we found out you were a talented singer as well. And we all happily learned in the Once episode of that fact when we heard a recording of you and your partner covering Falling Slowly. You guys sounded positively angelic, and it was a really sweet moment.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome. I really enjoyed it. I was like, oh, it's so sweet. Okay, number 1.
Go, Brie.
All right. So, Brie, when they did Sweet Charity, you were made fun of during Letterboxd 1-star or 5-star for mispronouncing the word F-R-U-G, frug. However, in the context of Sweet Charity, it is actually pronounced frug, the way you pronounced it, and not frug. You were right. Jess was wrong, because that is the way Bob Fosse insisted that it be pronounced when doing his show. You are vindicated. You're welcome. You were right all along.
Thank you. I will leave now.
This is her ultimate win of reviews.
That's my
Yes.
ultimate win.
How do you
Bob
feel about that,
Fosse was
Jess?
wrong,
You
let's
were
think
wrong.
about this.
What if Bob Fosse was wrong? I like that, Andrew. What if Bob Fosse was the wrong one? He's not always made the best decisions in his life.
What
I
if the
think-
last year I couldn't like sleep and I've been stressing and like killing myself over the fact, not killing, but like dying over the fact that I pronounced it wrong and you never told me.
Damn, that was my bad. No regrets. Very funny moment right now. So.
Way to go, Jess.
I stand by my choices. Juliet, what a wonderful list. That was fantastic. You thought of so many episodes I forgot even existed that now, no, I'm not going to re-listen to them, but I will acknowledge that they exist now.
Yeah, you never re-listened to them, no.
No, that's rough.
It's okay.
I'm so grateful that you keep doing this. I know it's a lot of work, especially our Rankin Bass episodes. Those are probably a real bitch and a half to do. You do
I did
such a good
shorthand
job.
for those. Thank
You do such an amazing job. Sincerely,
guys.
we're grateful to have you. And
Thanks.
it's always so much fun to ASMR your name at the end of every recording.
Getting better,
oh.
Jess.
Am I getting there? Will I officially like Damon Audio? You want to hire me? I'm a voice actor.
I know some people. We can make things happen.
I think that as Rachel Chan once said, I could not sleep to your guys' voice. It's too chaotic.
No, I couldn't fall asleep to the episodes either. I did listen to them late at night, but they kept me up for an extra couple hours. So
I don't know if that makes our show easier to listen to or harder to listen to, but
it makes it engaging.
Are too engaging to fall asleep to. Yeah, that's what it is.
All right. On that note, Juliet, promote all your socials and things for people to find you at, because I know you are all over the internets.
You can find me on Twitter at Juliet Thespiet. You can find me on Instagram at Aurora99. I have a podcast on YouTube called My Dad Listens to This, where my dad and I review albums in his music collection. We recently reviewed the famous 90s J-pop group Pizzicato 5 with their US debut album. And if you wonder why Jess whispers my name in ASMR, it's because I write scripts for ASMR voice actors on YouTube. To name a few, Date Audio, Darien Audio, Eastgate Audio, and one collab that might be coming up in the future. And if you ever want to check out my scripts, I try to sneak in at least one musical theater Easter egg per script, so see if you can spot them. But other than that, that's my stuff, that's my spiel, and I will always be the keeper of the cheese.
Hell yeah. All right. We will see you soon, Juliet. Hopefully before next year, but we'll see you.
If there's another Patreon meetup, join the Patreon.
Oh yeah, join the Patreon. We're actually rebranding our Patreon when we're rebranding the whole show when Bree leaves. Things are gonna be changing around here. just because we have an excuse now. All right, we'll see you next time on Musicals with Cheese.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.